Training technique with regards to swing path is most effective when combined with the 8 primary movement patterns of receiving. The cross and the X make up the 8 primary movement patterns to train as a player. There are 2 major factors to consider when training technique: swing path and movement patterns. Training these 2 simultaneously with seamless transitions from one to another is the difference between striking the ball as a player rather than a hitter. Don't you stop this frequency. When training a player, I always consider the swing path and movement patterns together. I understand the importance of training a swing path and locking in a certain groove on the stroke. So with a player, I'll typically warm up just a little bit with a player hitting a forehand or a backhand, basically stationary with little movement, just to get them to groove out the stroke and get into a warm-up position with the stroke. Right here I'm working with Georgia. She's 12 years old. Been working with her for about 6 or 7 months, and some of you may have seen some earlier videos of her. Still trying to get her to groove the stroke where it feels comfortable and she feels like she's driving from the ground up. So right here, working with her forehand, just trying to get her to groove the step down as well as the open stance or semi-open stance. We'll go over to the backhand, same thing. We'll start out with just a simple step down toward the ball, and then we'll go in to the semi-open stance. One of the things that I notice as a coach when I'm training a player just in a stationary position, I'm looking for how do they set up for the ball, their balance, whether they're leaning back off the shot, whether they're pushing through the shot, whatever we're trying to accomplish, whether we're trying to hit a drive, a loop, or lob. Now, when you begin to have a player move in the 8 major movement patterns, the first being the cross and then the X. So here I'm watching Georgia as she moves. We're hitting all 4 hands on the cross first. I'm watching how does she receive the ball off to her side. Is she receiving it in the strike zone that she likes? And so we talk about there's 3 actually different strike zones. From the ground to your knee is 1, from the knee to the shoulder is 2, and above the shoulder is 3. So is she receiving this ball in low, mid, or upper 2? Where does she like it according to what kind of grip she has? Another thing I'm looking for is how is she setting up for the shot? Is she in a semi-open load? Is she in a step down? Does it make sense? Is it efficient? Does she feel balanced? Does she feel unbalanced? So these are the things that I look for as a coach. Is she able to seemingly pull off the shot, combining the swing path that she has and her movement pattern? So right here I'm showing her exactly what I want to see. I want her to reset back to the middle and then move into the next shot. So we go forehand to the side, forehand forward, forehand in reverse, and then forehand to the side, turning around the backhand, hitting the inside out or inside in forehand. So as we continue through this challenge, I'm noticing also in her movement patterns, how does she move to the ball? Does she cross over as her first step or shuffle as her first step? What do her adjustment steps look like? So one of the things I remind the players is this is why we do the karaoke or the grapevine, where we use reverse crossovers and forward crossovers. It is a movement pattern that you use to be more efficient when setting up for a ball. So is she using the reverse crossover as she turns around her backhand? Does she cross over moving to her forehand either in reverse or forward? So these are the things as a coach that I'm looking to get the player to excel in. Her efficient movement to the ball. Is she shuffling too much? Does that make her slower? Is she crossing over? She does improve tremendously in this challenge. As we transition into the X drill, this gets really interesting to me as a coach because not only is a player moving in a straight line or are they looping around a shot and coming back in like a hook. So this is really important to notice the movement to the ball, the crossover steps, again, the adjustment steps. Are they drop stepping on the reverse balls? So right here, does she drop step there and then get herself in position to hit a semi-open stance? Is she stepping down to the forward angles? So you'll notice deficiencies and strengths in your player as they move in the X challenge. Another thing to notice in your player is, are they resetting with crossover steps, and how are their adjustment steps as well back to the next ball? I also like to go back and forth between the X and the cross pattern and work them in different ways. For instance, they hit all forehands or they hit all backhands. Here I'm having Georgia, with creating better spacing, actually hit all the backhands using the cross pattern. So she's going to turn around every single ball and she's going to create the right kind of spacing. And this way I can really begin to gauge how is she able to set up, where's her strength in her legs. Does she need to work a little bit more on her strength exercises as well as balancing exercises? So these things we'll do. I'll give her workout programs for off-court training so that she'll begin to build better balance and better strength in her lower body, so that when she does get in position, she feels more stability and be able to execute the shot that she really wants. So as we transition from the hand feed challenges to the racket feed, one of the main aspects that changes is the trajectory of the ball, which is made up of the spin, the speed, and the height of the ball. How well does the player adjust and anticipate the speed of the ball, the spin of the ball, and the height of the ball over the net, as well as the direction? So right here, Georgia's working on the cross pattern. I've kind of hinted to her which way I'm going to feed the ball, so she kind of anticipates automatically. And then we'll do sort of a random where I'll feed in different positions through the cross. One of the things I picked up and noticed while we were running the cross pattern with the racket feed was Georgia's struggle for taking the backhand cross court. She hits the backhand down the line really well. Something she tends to default to. I'd like for her to take it more cross court and have that option. So she misses more down the middle. I say, Georgia, I'd like for you to miss really wide. So work on hitting more of the outside bottom back of the ball to hit good top spin and wide. So definitely want her to overcorrect at this point just to see how much she needs to hit on the outside bottom back of the ball. So as we move out of the isolation of the backhand cross, I take Georgia back into the cross pattern, see if this cross court backhand will hold up. And I'll just work through the pattern once again, and she'll get the feel of taking that backhand more cross court. So this is a back and forth that you can go. You can see that she's just not moving well to her left and taking the backhand cross, but as I isolate once again, she finds the groove. So as I go into the racket feed X drill, if you'll notice the position that I'm in, I'm actually not in the middle of the court feeding the balls to Georgia. I'm off to the do side. And so I'll do this for a few moments, feeding from this direction. And get also, as I do this, I'm still watching her, the way she sets up the way her balance is, whether she's leaning back on her heels, whether she's pushing forward through the shot, her swing path, whether she's hitting on the outside part of the ball to make it go cross court. Now I'll move over to the ad side and feed from a different angle. This is one of the crucial things as a coach that I can do to help a player understand how to receive a ball coming in from different angles. If you simply just feed from the middle of the court, it's not the reality of what they're going to experience in match play. As coaches, we should try to train a player in a manner in which they are expected to perform in match play competition.